Well, good morning, everyone. It's 37 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. I am Poka Lainoi, and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. Welcome to the program. If you have just joined us, we have been speaking for about a half hour on the subject of terrorism. What is terrorism, and what are the ways of terrorism, both from the side of the person who defines it, or the people who are trying to maintain control, or their control over their society, as opposed to others who are attempting to change the ways in which that society operates, either from the outside or from the inside of that society. And that's one view. The second view is looking at terrorism in terms of what that country will commit to other countries and how they will export, is that the word? Export terrorism to other countries. Now, that's just a broad summary. The last call Michael was talking about taking a look at a particular website, and it is a website that I have started up, and there's a paper on it talking about envisioning a future for Hawaii. And Michael is suggesting that rather than, and as an alternative to having to resort to arms or to resort to terroristic practices, you might be interested in taking a look at that. And if in case you are in fact moved by that kind of thinking, maybe not necessarily all of the contents of that paper, because it does say at the very top, draft. If you are interested and would like to gather in some kind of discussion groups or further planning of this non-terroristic changing movement, he's going to be working on creating something where we can gather together, I guess, and sit and talk with one another, and then actually plan on carrying out, I think you can call it in a softer revolution, but it is revolutionary. And I guess anytime you want to make changes to the society, it is revolutionary. Let's go to our next telephone caller. The telephone number here is 524-1080 if you would like to join in this discussion. Okay, our next caller, aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Apologies again, Polka. I'll say it just one more thing and then take a rest after all. It is Sunday. I would like to know what the efforts that are supposed, well, I can't find the correct word, that are referred to in the previous caller's statement that are acceptable to pursuing the course that you and he have suggested. I mean, can it be observations and comments, or does it require more than that, which some of us obviously aren't going to be able to fulfill, and feel in that way that we've been excluded from being excluded from that because we can't contribute anything more. So it's all right. I love your radio because it provides me with a way of saying things and being open to discussion. What I was referring to before was in the respect to women's situation, that there is a critical aspect of the situation women are in that is never mentioned. And when this young woman from Georgetown Law School, Miss Fluke, was discussing it, she couldn't bring it forward. She was stopped, and when Rush Limbaugh, excuse me. I don't like to do that sometimes. It's automatic. Really.
Okay, go ahead.
I need a rest for sure. She stopped by being called the most disgraceful and shaming name because she dare approach it. And then he made all sorts of outrageous comments, to ridicule this position, which it does do all of the time when it comes near being expressed openly. It happened in the Congress when she was dismissed, and then from being a very qualified witness, I was going to say defendant, but witness I think is better at that point. She was barred from speaking, and then when she went public with this other person, he used words like that, and I did not hear any dismissal or any very much, in fact, I heard a lot of laughter about it. So that's my position, and I'll give everybody and myself a rest.
Okay.
Thanks again, and Thank you
for calling, and thank you for listening. I'm going to respond to some of the points that you have raised, but thank you very much again for calling. Aloha. And so let's go to Sister's concerns and questions and views. More with regards to Michael's instigation of coming out first with a litmus test that developed into a paper envisioning a future for Hawaii also being an alternative method to terrorism, or more a silenter, a quieter revolution, certainly not a silent revolution, but to revolt against the kinds of stuff that we see and we would expect Hawaii would be moving into, that direction that Hawaii would be moving into, and trying to discuss and find alternative directions and gathering together. So, Sister asked, what are the efforts that are acceptable in this particular case of this gathering, this meeting, this envisioning new future, revised, not a revised future, envisioning a future for Hawaii that is compatible with our desires for Hawaii? Is it merely observations and discussing concepts, or will it call for an action state, such as going out and occupying various places, or through that occupation infiltrating into the Democrat Party, the Republican Party, the various social parties or events, and making changes in terms of the perception, the perspective, the way different people conceptualize what Hawaii should be, making changes at the city council, making changes at the legislature, and that kinds of stuff. I think the point that the paper is now developing is to meet all of those things that Sister was talking about. That is that, yes, as a discussion point to gather people together of common minds. And from that common development, those who have the opportunity, the ability, the desire to then get active in whatever councils, communities, or associations that they are normally involved in, including calling at radio shows, to take these ideas and share it with other members of the public, and to have these ideas filter through the community. It's one of the greatest tools for changing society is education, is information, carried through discussion, debate, and convincing people through that process of discussion and debate. And so this idea of people gathering together, sitting down, and being face to face, I guess, not suggesting that this radio show or television shows do not meet that requirement. I do suggest that it doesn't meet the requirement fully, so that in a conversation one is instigated, one is agitated, one is animated, and you can really get into a discussion and exchange ideas head to head. Some people would say toe to toe, but you can be, in the Hawaiian we would say he alo a he alo, that is face to face, and go through the exploration of these ideas. And in a group there's more conversation. Sometimes in a group it's somewhat more difficult at times, because you have so many people who are animated and would like to, and sometimes they are agitated. More than animated, they are agitated. And they want to be heard. So it calls for some kind of group dynamics and group control. I was looking at some of these television shows in which it becomes more an expression, an excellent expression of DIE, especially the dominating aspect. So you go on, is it McLaughlin interviews, and it's another number of other interviewing processes where they have more than two people on speaking with one another. They may have 3, 4, or 5. And then it becomes a shouting match. And then it becomes a question of who the camera person will be attracted towards, or the director behind the camera and saying, go to camera 1, 2, or 3. Because people seem to be talking and asserting a position without listening and without really dealing with the thoughts behind what another is expressing. And so you lose 80% of that conversation. So in certain cases, radio may be a better method of conducting these kinds of broadcasts. In other cases, larger group discussion, but only if, and even in radio, only if the conversation can be held to a level of respectability, a level of true conversing, a level of listening to one another, and then dealing with the ideas rather than dominating your idea over another idea, and then neither speaker nor listener learns anything. So I think as part of the counter-terroristic approach that is being made, this suggestion that Michael introduced in the last half hour is a very valid way of taking this approach. Well, with that, I hope I have addressed at least the first part of Sister's remarks about the efforts that are to be made, or what we anticipate. We anticipate people then taking those ideas, that paper, that shared work product, so that it becomes everyone's work product, or whatever portion of the work product you would like to take with you, and assert them to the extent, to the capacity that you have, and each person decide for themselves what is the extent that they can move forward to. So even though you may not be able to march in a parade, or not willing to, what is that, for the feminists, burn the bra, or whatever other physical act that you may want, you would like to do but are not able to do it, that's okay. Most important is to have people contribute their thoughts, their considered thoughts, and not just to hear themselves speak, but to engage in true discussion. That is a very important aspect of planning, developing, envisioning, prophesizing what Hawaii should be. Okay, so as we continue to develop time, place, and dates for these meetings, we'll be moving ahead. Michael may be waiting for me to set a time and date, and as I wait for others to do it. But actually, we do need to get moving on being more specific. I want to hear from you folks whether, and if you are able to gather together, whether you would prefer a weekday or a weekend. Usually on my weekends, I'm engaged in doing radio. So Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, I get out of here at about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I am located at the Chinese Cultural Plaza. So perhaps someplace in Honolulu on Sundays for gatherings, and following up on some of our discussions on the radio, and taking more specific look at what the paper is suggesting. And I'd like to hear from you. If those are not good times because many of you are attending church, then we can also discuss other alternatives. And I'm sure it's not going to be everyone coming to agreement on one particular date or time, but we can find alternative times so that when people are available, they can come to these kinds of discussions. I haven't looked around Honolulu where would be a good place to meet, but that can be part of our discussion. Or if you have a suggestion for an office building or a home or things like that, and you would be willing to assist in opening up these places, then that's another opportunity as well. And we can also take some of your suggestions off the air, and you can call me or contact me by email. My email address is plainui. Lainui is spelled Laenui, and I'm at hawaiianperspectives.org. So that's my email address. Perhaps easier to remember, or you may want to write it down, is my telephone number at my work, and that is 697-3045. Please leave a message, and always leave your telephone number if you want me to call you back. And even if I don't need to call you back, leave your telephone number in the event I do decide to call you back. Now, the telephone number again is 697-3045. The second topic that a sister had called about was about the idea of feminism, about the law school student, and she is probably an attorney at the present time, because this was a number of years back, I believe, who had testified before Congress. I believe that was a situation, or attempted to testify, and she talked about, what was it, the right to have an abortion should she decide to, and Rush Limbaugh picked up on that and castigated her as being a prostitute or a whore or a woman of low esteem and all that kinds of stuff. And then the many people in the public jumped on him and essentially scolded him for his attitude, which was a way that he used to chill a person's right of free speech and free expression, especially when the mechanism that is supposed to be open in which these expressions are encouraged, such as legislative hearings, and when others who disagree with you jumps in and then attacks you for expressing your feelings that is contrary to another person's feelings, that is an attack upon your right of free speech done by a private person, not necessarily by a government. And so that has to be protected, and people should be cautioned about.
O Hawaii, Tupa amahope o ka aina, Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino, Pala pala anunu me ka paka